In Summer 12, we've added some new features to support the private billing to insurers and co-payment co-insurance on the Bill Payers tab. What we have here are some insurers alongside normal bill payers. I'm going to look at some of these examples. This one we have HSBC. They may be an insurer or they may be a corporate who offer a insurance plan to their employees. I can see I've got 3 insurance plans here. Each of these insurance plans can be assigned to different patients. Let's look at the first one, HSBC Gold, and see how that's set up. So what we have here is a very standard plan, 100% co-insurance, so all the costs are met by the insurer except where we note otherwise. So the cover is met for anything that's covered by the plan, which you will see in a second. The insurer will pay for those charges. We see here we can list which covers this plan has. So on this plan I've got one general cover, and that covers the consultations, pharmacy, physiotherapy and procedures. And we categorise our care activities into a number of these groups, and you can add more groups if you need to, more categories, and then the system will determine when those activities are charged, or when those activities are assigned to a patient's treatment plan. The system will determine at invoicing whether the insurer or the patient's self-pay will pick up the charges. Let's go back to our plan. So on this plan I've got that general cover, nothing special, just covering those 4 categories. However, I also have some price caps or fixed pricing. So for these 3 items I've agreed special pricing for this plan, and may also have additional prices agreed for the insurer, for HSBC. So they may have an agreed tariff rate card for all the other activities. But in this case what I've got is a simple setup for each of these items. There's an agreed charge as part of this plan. For a different plan there may be different agreed charges. Let's look at some other examples. Let's look at the staff plan. Again, we've got 100% cover. This time though, on the insurance covers, there's 2 items. The first one is very similar to the one we just saw. It covers consultation, pharmacy, physio, procedures and radiology. However, we have an additional cover for laboratory work. And in this case, we've got a maximum annual claim of $3,000 per annum for the patient on laboratory charges. Now, the system doesn't enforce these maximum annual claims, but it does help you define what the contract agreement is with this insurer, and it allows you to report against the lab tests that are ordered against the maximum annual claim. Let's look at some other examples. Here we have a plan for Bupa. Again, on this plan, it's 100% on the payment agreement. This time we have 3 covers. Now, interestingly, on this one, again, we've got a general cover for pharmacy, physio and procedures. And we've got special pricing for GP and a specialist cover, specialist consultations. So we see here there's a co-payment of $20 for every GP consultation and $30 for every specialist consultation on the episode. And all we had to do to set that up is down here, after picking the cover category, I put a restriction on. Optionally restrict cover for single activity, so it's restricted just to GP consultation activity, and there is a co-payment set for that. You don't have to have a co-payment, you can still restrict without one. And let's just look at the specialist. Same thing. Consultation, this time it's specialist, and a $30 charge. Again, we can have these covers and the co-payments, and within that we can still have an agreed price. So for any price caps, the agreed price will fix the cost of treatment regardless of any co-payment. So every time a patient on this plan receives a GP consultation, instead of being priced at the walk-in price, it will always be priced at $150. Similarly for specialist consultations, every time a patient on this plan has a specialist consultation, the price will be pulled through at $350 instead of our standard rate. and so on for a physio treatment. I'm going to look at some more complex examples now, and then we're going to actually create some on the fly as well. So here I've got two plans for AIA. Now the first one here, AIA Basic, we've got a slight change. In this one we've got a $500 inclusive pharmacy charge. So with this plan, the insurer said that for every episode you can have up to $500 of pharmacy charges. So we're not going to say all pharmacy is covered, we're actually saying a pharmacy up to this limit. As soon as the patient's treatment of pharmacy exceeds $500, they will have to self-pay that excess. And we've got some agreed rates again as well. You'll see here the cover on this plan only has consultation and pharmacy on. The second AIA plan is also interesting. In this one, we've only got an 80% payment agreement. So once all the charges are calculated at all the agreed rates, 80% of the bill will be met by the insurer, the other 20% must be met by the patient. And we see here on the covers, we've restricted the cover just to the specialist consultation. So we've said consultation, but in this case there's only a single row and there's only a single activity. So if they treat the patient for anything else than a specialist consultation, they will have to self-pay the charge. If I treat them for a specialist consultation, they will have to pay 20% of the charge, with the insurer meeting the other 80%. And here again, I've also set an agreed rate for that. Let's create some other plans then. And create a new plan, a new bill payer. This one's called Good Health. And I'll fill the rest of the details in later. And Good Health have a plan. So I'm going to put in the plan name. And I'm going to check it's a 100% payment agreement. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to add a cover. The cover for this includes consultation, pharmacy, physiotherapy. And I'm just going to give it a name, general cover. Okay. I'm not going to restrict this to any one activity. Just go back to the plan. Actually, I'm going to change this one and make it 80% agreement. Any changes you make after the plan are set up will affect all future invoices. They will not reprice anything that's already been invoiced. Okay. And on that cover, I also want to add some price caps. So I'm going to add some price caps for GP treatment. And I'm going to make that $300. And I'm going to add a second one for specialist treatment of $600. And I'm going to create one more actually. This time I'm just going to create a clone. Create one for physio. And this time our charge is going to be $480. Okay. So it's quite a simple plan. Let's take a more complex example. Let's create a new bill payer. This one's called B-Care. I must remember to change the type to insurer. Otherwise I can't select the bill payer on a patient as their current insurer. And on this bill payer I'm going to create a plan. The first one's called BCBnet. And on this plan I only want GP consultations. That's the only thing that's covered. but 100% of that is covered. So now I add my cover. Say consultation, and restrict the care activity to GP. And I could choose to put a co-payment in here. In this case, I don't need one. Back to my plan. And I'm going to add a price cap for that as well. So I'm going to have a fixed price of $115. You'll notice as I type in some of these lookups, I can either use the lookup to search, or if I know the start of the code and it's unique, the system will recognise and automatically match for me. I don't have to type the full GP consultation in. And you see it matched. Okay, that's quite a simple plan. Let's take another example. So again on BCare, I'm going to enter a plan. This one's called BCU Care. And I can have any additional characters, maybe I've got different types, A, B, C, D as well. On this plan, I've got an agreed rate. So the patient's getting agreed rates, but the insurer's not going to pay any of the bills. In that case, my payment agreement is 0. So 0% of the cost is met by the insurer. It's just special pricing. And in this way, you can use this to override prices for different groups of patients. So in this one, I'm going to have a cover. I'm going to have a cover only for consultations. Arguably, I could have no cover at all. The system would still work for just the special pricing. Then I'm just going to set up my special prices. $115. And I'm going to clone that just for speed of entry. And this one's going to be $350. And I'm going to clone that again for physio and make it $280. So in this case, say 0% is met by the insurer, but we've got some covers agreed, some special pricing agreed. And in this case, actually, I didn't need the insurance cover. I put that on there, but actually that won't make any difference because none of the charges are met by the insurer. Okay. Great. Let's see how we set prices for a bill payer then as well. So let's go back to HSBC. So HSBC have several insurance plans, but they may also have standard rates. So even when a patient's not covered on an individual plan, even if they are, I may want to set some additional tariff lines. So I can set some general costs, regardless of which plan the customer's on, the patient's on. You can set a price for that insurer. If they have a plan that also covers the same thing, like a specialist consultation, the plan will always take priority. So in this case, let's say I have a special price for x-rays. So instead of the $1,250, I'm going to make it $1,000. Maybe MRI as well, I've got a special price. And maybe I'm going to set that at $1,500. And normally you'd use this discount, but you could actually do this to add surcharges as well. I'm entering these on care activities. I could do the same thing on drugs as well. Now, if you have hundreds of items to load, your system administrator can use some wizards in the setup tools to load hundreds or thousands of records in one go. So So that was drugs and care activities. How do I enter special lab prices? Well, simply I can add in the same way to the lab prices, I can have a special name. You see here it's asking me for an API name. This is a bit clunky, a bit cumbersome to understand how to use. So an easier way to do this is to go to your lab prices tab. And on the lab prices tab, I can find the test that I want to modify. So let's say I want to change a cholesterol test. As this is already populated with the correct API name, the easiest thing to do is to clone this, add the insurer, and then set your special pricing. And I can do that on any of the tests.